welcome back to another episode of Sage and the Rage.
I'm Sage.
And I'm Rage. And speaking of Rage, there's this thing that happens at the end of an expansion where your guild wants to progress further than they normally do. You get stuck on a couple mythic fights or maybe a heroic, depending on where you are. And people get burnt out. People get upset and they start getting really irritated with it. And you yourself find yourself just angry with the game and you're kind of burnt out and you need a break, but you're not quite sure if you want to step away from the game altogether. Well, Blizzard has equipped us with a way to avoid that, because wipe after wipe and the same content after same content while we wait for the biggest content patch to come, which is an expansion, we always hit those dry spots. It doesn't matter how well of a job Blizzard does, there's a dry spot.
Yeah, it's kind of the end of expansion blues is what I think some would call it. You know, content has finally slowed down. You already know what's new is coming on the horizon, but it's not here yet. So you kind of gotta piece together what you want to do in that time period. Do you want to take a break from WoW and come back fresh later? Or are you just gonna keep hammering it out and slowly burn yourself out? So today we're gonna kind of talk about that and, present some ideas.
So Blizzard has given us something that they haven't given us before while we're in content drought. At least not on the same level. They've redone the leveling experience, and with that redo of the leveling experience comes the allied races. And they're out now. And I've seen within my own guild tons of people switching their mains to Void Elves because of the buff. Nerf incoming. Nerf incoming. I'm just throwing that out there. It's totally going to happen because everyone's switching to Void Elf. That's a caster anyway for the spell damage buff. But that's aside from the point. Is try these new allied races out. Try the new leveling experience. Take a break from grinding these high level alts, hoping for the right legendary, still not getting it, still not being viable in raids, bashing your head in raids. Take a break from the raiding and all of the same old grind that we've been doing AP, and go back and do something new and refreshing that you haven't done in a while, which is play these allied races. Do the quest lines to unlock them, get them going, level them up, experience what's out there. Because the intro cinematics alone that are playing as we're sitting here talking in this video, they're pretty cool. But also, knowing that you're unlocking something, progressing something forward for later alts, which also keep you busy, it keeps a goal in mind, but at the same time gives you a kind of a mind-numbing experience. It doesn't take much to level. You're not. Mythic raiding and leveling are two very opposite ends of the same spectrum.
Yeah, and you can actually use this experience now that level scaling has been brought to all of Azeroth, is you can actually go and experience zones that maybe you ignored before, really dig into the lore of that area, read through the quests, get involved with it, try and discover something maybe you didn't know before.
Yeah, so not so much playing an alt to grind it up and make it a raid-worthy alt right away, but maybe leveling an alt just to actually experience some of the lore and some of the characters. As we approach Battle for Azeroth, now is a better time than any to understand the Horde and all of their quests and all of their lore and where they come from, or the Alliance and all of their quests and all of their lore and where they come from, and to really re-expand your knowledge base onto all of this lore, into all of these areas, and how all these different factions work and play with one another. And it makes the game much more interesting when you understand all of the little quirks that lead up to why certain characters and factions do the things they do.
Yeah, it'll give you a new outlook on the game, and who knows, you might discover some fancy little tidbits that might play a factor in the next expansion coming up. You never know, Blizzard's always pulling things from the past and making them new again.
And there's nothing like re-leveling to grab that relevance again, to notice these small little intricacies that play maybe a much larger role. I mean, I don't think that we can go back to vanilla, unless we get on one of those servers, Eastern and Western Plaguelands, but the Blightcaller questline originally was really cool, and to see the evolution of that character and just the sprite design from where it was is really neat. And so going back to the Plaguelands might help you understand the Forsaken a little bit. And also going through Silverpine Forest again, going through any of those areas on these new allied races could be a huge experience. And I think it's something that players need. I've had some footage rolling here of mythic wipes on high command, and it's aggravating. Take a break, do something else, come back to your raiding when you have raid nights so you don't burn out completely and you don't let your team down. Because the problem with Burnout is that if you step away from the game or you leave a guild you've been with this entire time, you now have to find another one, which right now is a decent time to switch guilds, but it's also a bad time. Because being that person that stayed dedicated to your group guarantees you that raid spot and that leadership spot, maybe going into battle for Azeroth. So not burning out is a huge, huge thing, and it just happens at the end of expansions. It's part of it. But Blizzard has at least equipped us with some form of new entertainment this time.
Yeah, and maybe leveling isn't your jam. Maybe you want to try something new. Maybe try out Battlegrounds again. I know they've got the brand new one out that might be a lot of fun. I've not heard much about it yet. But, you know, PvP and PvE are two different bags. Maybe, you know, trying the PvP side a little bit more as new spice on your game experience might be a good idea.
Yep, something to distract you from what you normally do. Anything in that area can be beneficial as you sit here in this low point before we get to Battle for Azeroth. The other thing that you can do besides all the PvP and everything else like that is if you pre-purchase Battle for Azeroth now, and no, this is not a commercial, but if you pre-purchase it now, you get a free boost to 110. So you can boost one of these allied races if you don't feel like leveling it. And if you want to have another character, boost one up. Try out a class that you're not used to. If you typically play melee, try a ranged. If you typically play ranged, play melee. Try a healer. Try a tank. You'll have just another alt in the bag ready to go for when it happens. I think the other thing is you really want the allied races things to be successful. Because if it is, maybe Blizzard will continue to add more allied races. We have races like the Vulpin that are going to be coming out in Battle for Azeroth, the cute little fox creatures, and oh. But anyway, maybe they'll get added. If this is successful, we might see more content like this in the future that gives more diversity to the player base. So it's totally worth trying and experiencing, whether you boost it, whether you level it, whether you PvP it. There's something to do here while we wait for the next big content.
Yeah, this is a good opportunity to try something new. And, you know, if allied races are successful, for you Horde players out there, non-hunched, you know, Draenor-style orcs could be in the future for you.
Upright orcs?
I know, say it isn't so.
That's enough to make me go Horde.
Yeah, so, you know, that's kind of our thoughts on the between expansion blues. You know, Legion's wrapped up pretty much. We're kind of done with that chapter of WoW.
Yep.
But Battle for Azeroth just isn't quite here yet. So, you know, we're in that slump.
Let us know down in the comments below what allied races you are already playing or ones you're looking forward to play. Let me know what you think of the overpowered Void Elf racial that everyone's switching to. And if you think it'll get nerfed, because I think it's going to get a nerf when everyone switches to it. And hit that like, hit that subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more updates on the channel in the future.
We enjoy having you in our community. Peace, people.